There are 340 million people living in the United States of America. On July 8th at 6:25 p.m., one of them ceased to exist. That man was my brother. He was a United States Marine and later went on to serve in the United States Army. Now, the people who do this, especially people who look like me, like my brother did, have for a long time served this country and in blind faith did so with a love that was programmed into them for a nation that did not love them back. This is the Woke Socialist Podcast. Please like and subscribe to this video and drop a comment in the comment section. I would like to get as many people as I can, supporters, subscribers, and otherwise, because we know now that the freedom of speech, the First Amendment, is under threat. So the more you support videos on YouTube and content creators, the more we can deliver to preserve that right. Now, doom scrolling and listening and commenting, especially when you troll, is not the act of a patriot. It is the act of someone who is comfortable at this time with other people solving their problems. And this is the problem with our two-party system. Now, before we get started on what I have to talk about, I would like to give a shout out to the strong-willed, the people that just won't quit. And one of them is Danielle Moody. And every day, a couple of times a day at least, she gets on YouTube and talks about how she is getting frustrated and what it will take, and how people think that their assignment is to watch YouTube videos, comment, and then go back to their daily lives. We're way beyond that. We have been for so long. We have predicted what is going on for so long. Now, my brother suffered, since his military service in the 1980s, from an affliction that he got while he served. He wound up in a wheelchair, had a heart attack, and never came back to us. And right now, I'm finding out from veterans who have PTSD, who are activists, and who are on the front lines right now against MAGA, that his funeral might not be paid for. So they forgot all about him. So a person that looks like me enters the military, gives their service, and when they die, they get nothing. Probably nobody from the military will even come to his service, because it was suggested to him years ago that he get himself some life insurance, because he couldn't count on being buried by the country that destroyed his body and used it for, I don't know, how do I say it as a person of color? The white agenda in the United States. And this is not hyperbole. This has been happening since Crispus Attucks and the Revolutionary War. He was the first man killed, a black man. But I digress. If you are a person of color in the military right now, you are most likely going to be dismissed. The reason being right now is Pete Hegseth is saying that people of color that can't shave their beards have to go, and if they shave their beards and that appearance does not fit the white Nazi I don't even have the word for it. If you're not uber white with uber white skin or brown skin that can conform to the genetics of this thing, then you do not belong in the military. Now, we already have witnessed him purging the military of the highest ranking black officials and people up for promotion so that we can have an all-white military. Now, these are some of the most brilliant people that the military has ever seen and will never see again. Because by the time all this is sorted out, these people will have either found other things to do with their talents or left us, like my brother did. That being said, if I were you and I were black or brown in America, the last thing that I would be preaching to other black and brown Americans is to strive for equality in the United States military. Because it is my belief that those folks have already proven themselves and have nothing more to prove. Let them have their white army. They want their white wars. They want people to die for gold in the White House and somebody's ego or MAGA. Let them do that. When this idiocracy first began, a lot of black people told other black people not to go out in the streets and protest, and once again put their bodies on the line for white people to benefit from their sacrifice. I didn't agree with that then, in that case, and I don't agree with that right now. However, I do agree with that as it applies to the military. I absolutely do. Because too many times throughout history, more black bodies have been brought here in caskets and disrespected after serving a nation that did not deserve their service. And right now, to all those now suffering from the policies of Donald Trump's fascist regime, to all the veterans who died while he was in office, and every other privileged white man that thought it best to send the poorest of the poor off to war, I say this: if they want to be patriots, let them die for their country. Because obviously, to them, this is not yours. So let them die for theirs. Take a step back and worry about your families instead of the white man's wars. Do that. For once. Because I tell you what, we don't have the Supreme Court and police officers and elected officials like we did back in the days when we were arguing cases like Brown versus Board of Education and Loving v. Virginia. We don't have that structure anymore. So whatever people tell you about the process working and our judicial system working is bullshit. Because it has been replaced with something else that white people in America do not recognize. And I am not taking anything away from people like Mark Elias and Democracy Docket that is actually fighting for these things. But I am taking away from people like James Carville that sit here and preach along the lines of things are still normal. And he does not want to be surrounded by socialists. That bothers me. It infuriates me because it's just another example of white privilege and the lack of understanding of what we are up against. Now, as a 54-year-old individual, I do not want a James Carville who lives in the fucking past deciding my fucking future. He's on borrowed time. Just like Donald Trump. So, I don't subscribe to that at all. It really irritates me where we're at right now, and why are we still listening to people like that? CNN, MSNBC, like Joe Scarborough, and people, when they placate to this bullshit, your time is fucking up. You have failed. Now I say, and the Native Americans too, we did not inherit this place. You call it a country. You call people that come from other countries illegals. This land that had no borders before you invaded it. Okay? This land was not inherited from your forefathers. It was borrowed from your children. And you are much too old to be sitting around telling your children and your great-grandchildren who they should love, who they should care about, who they should support, or how to run this country. You have one foot in the fucking grave. How dare you? And on that note, I'd like to make a comment about Mitch McConnell and everybody wishing him well, you know, on mainstream television, Democrats. Take that shit and shove it where the sun don't shine. I'm not that nice. After all he did to this country, every one of you that says you wish him well and a speedy recovery, as Democrats, make me fucking sick to my stomach. People are dead because of this asshole. And you wish him well? Why don't you just go ahead and sign another bill? Why don't you sign the one making Charlie Kirk's Assassination Day a holiday? Why don't you do that? Because that's where AIPAC Democrats and corporate media is at. We can't blame Fox News anymore. Because every single corporate media outlet right now, except Democracy Now! On PBS, that I can see, is 99.9% pro-Trump. Now, you don't have to come out and say you are, because we're not stupid. Generation X took something called civics class, and some of us even have degrees, if you can believe that. So we can discern between what is true and what is bullshit. But what both parties is depending upon is for us to placate to the bullshit. Now, that might have worked for the baby boomers like my parents, but that's not good enough for me. If you believe it or not, and I know you won't, you'll just doom scroll and keep on going. You are not safe right now here in the United States of America under any of the existing parties. And I say this because you cannot be black or white, patriot, or liberal of any country around this world that came as an immigrant to the United States and has ancestors that came as immigrants and support a genocide in Gaza. Nor can you campaign in the United States of America with the full faith of the American people while you're taking money from AIPAC. You can't do it. You have done it in the past, but you will not do it in the near future. Why? Because as citizens of the United States of America that ran for office and took an oath, your duty is to this country, not Israel. And you can believe it or not, but you are about to understand that government should fear its citizens. Their citizens, these citizens, will no longer fear our government. So if you're a Democrat or a Republican and you are on board with that type of shit, then you are one step away from being on board for it here. And we already know this because Democrats have voted time and time and time again to keep funding the Gestapo that just killed another man a few days ago in Houston, Texas. This is where you are. We're no longer there. The smart ones of us that understand what we're up against. The whole entire world is looking at the United States. While white people do podcasts about how we need to wait for elections, and they don't want people like Hassan Piker and Zoran Mamdani representing the party, the rest of the world is against us. So the biggest threat to your personal national security right now is the United States of America antagonizing the rest of the entire world, threatening to bomb them, imposing tariffs, and making the whole world try to bow to Donald Trump. But the truth of the matter is that they will not. You might, as so-called rah-rah Americans and patriots, but they will not. What does that say about you, and what position does that put you in? Because the minute this maniac makes the wrong move, we very well might, as the pariah of the world, get our asses blown off the face of the earth. That is reality. Because every country out there has an obligation to protect its citizens. You might not care about that, but they do. And right now, they care a lot more about their citizens than you care about your own fucking selves. That's why you're still sitting on your couch doing nothing and waiting for a goddamn election. And worrying about socialism. That's how fucking stupid America is. We're like something like 32 on the list of most intelligent nations. This is what you signed on for. This is what you did. And that includes both Democrats and Republicans, especially Democrats that don't listen to their demographic and did not campaign in the Deep South. This is what you get. And you deserve every fucking bit of karma that you're going to get. So I don't feel sorry when some motherfucker like Charlie Kirk gets shot or Mitch McConnell might be dead. I don't give two fucks. Because neither one of them did shit for me. And right now, the Democratic Party, under the Pelosi pantsuit mafia from the 1980s, you haven't done a fucking thing for Generation X. And I'm fucking here to represent about that shit. And this movement is only going to get bigger. So welcome to the rise of the Karmacrats. We're not a fucking Tea Party. Not even close. We're your karma. We're here to strip you of your sins. And when I say sins, I don't mean biblical ones. The sins of the fathers who are still there holding power away from us will be stripped from the youth right now. Now, baby boomers have been freeloading off of all the generations to follow up until now. And some people have been sitting around taking a tally. Well, the rent's due, motherfuckers. We're getting a little tired of this shit. Now, a lot of people believe, since all the institutions, and I mean all, including the Democratic Party, has failed every single solitary American. All of the institutions. You can't hope for somebody to win an election here, or a judge to make a decision here, or for the Supreme Court to do something. And they always do this. They side against Trump and everybody gets all fucking excited and they turn around the next day and then they side for him and vote for him in something way more insidious than what was on the table. Those of us who live in reality cannot rely on that drama to save our future. So if you want to eat 10 years after I put this message out, it would behoove you to wake the fuck up. Because right now, the American dream for our grandchildren is going to be whether or not they get one meal a day. Because you are allowing both parties to poison this country to the point of no return, while the rest of the world watches and tells us what big fucking idiots we are. They laugh at people like James Carville. They watch MSNBC and you know, we're the butt of all jokes. The real deal is what you can actually feel. Not the clickbait, not listening to morning news. It's what people like me feel and see on the ground. This isn't the uprising of the Blue Tea Party. This isn't democratic socialism for all. Because I'm just a socialist. I'm not a democratic socialist. This is the rise of the third party of the karmocrats. These are generations of people that never got a bite at the apple when it was their turn. Because people like Merrick Garland, Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell hogged it all up from them. And they decided they were going to stay in Congress for 50 and 60 years. This is the party of people who voted for Barack Obama. Turn around and got fucked over by Donald Trump. This is the party for people who didn't vote. Because once Bernie Sanders was screwed out of the Democratic nomination for the 2016 election, they decided not to vote because they didn't want to vote blue no matter who. They didn't want to settle for less. Now this is us. We know now that it's only going to get worse if we wait until November. And we will not only have nothing to lose, we'll have nothing to fight for. We know this now. And some of us knew it a long time ago. So if you're still on that bandwagon, listen to the rest of the world. Because when America decides it's going to come after them, they're going to come after us. We've already destroyed us. There's only one way out of this. And the people who are promoting and placating fascism don't want to face that fact. But it's coming. Because when you have two choices, to live or die, and death is imminent, a few less than 340 million Americans are going to come after you with pitchforks and whatever else they got. So just right now, you need to be especially aware that everything around you right now is the enemy. Just because it puts on the suit and walks up into Congress doesn't make it your friend. If it needs $5 from you after they've taken thousands or millions from AIPAC, they are not your friend. If genocide is okay for them overseas, and for them to send other people like my brother to defend Israel, they are not your friend. I'm going to sum this up now with a quote that I say a lot to other people. All that is necessary for evil to prevail or triumph is that good men do nothing. And the man who said that was Edmund Burke. This is the Woke Socialist Podcast. Have the day you voted for.